Welcome to the Dana Grant Show, where heart-centered stories, authentic connections, real talk, and real action come together. I'm your host, Dana Grant, and I believe in the boundless potential within each of us. Join me as we dive into transformative conversations that not only inspire growth, but compassion with a deeper understanding of ourselves and the world around us. Let's embark on this journey together, unlocking all the power within and creating a life of purpose and fulfillment. This is the Dana Grant Show, where your story matters and your voice is heard, and I cannot wait to dive in. Okay, welcome back to the Dana Grant Show, heart-driven conversations, and I have Kute Blackson today, and I'm going to tell you, I've been waiting for this interview and this conversation. I have read both your books, but I mean, there's so much to cover, but I'm just going to dive right in. I mean, you have been the fact that you got the 2019 Unity Thought Walden Award, that you were the winner of that, and the nominees were Oprah Winfrey and Michael Bernard Beckwith, whom I love and know personally. And you're in the category of spiritual geniuses and thought leaders.
Oh,
And I mean, you
well,
are.
well, they had won it before,
Yes. And you're in that category
Right.
of, I wouldn't say, yeah, I'm going to say elevated. You know, it's like, I wrote something out and then I'm like, nope, you know what? I'm going to go there because your books, The Magic of Surrender and You Are the One, these are very, and not only insightful, but they're thought-provoking books. And I think the depth of them, they grabbed a hold of me, and the fact you're here and we get to have this conversation. I mean, I'm tripping all over myself because I'm like, what do I ask? And my team said, you're never nervous. I know, but I am today because there's so much I want to know from
Let's
him.
go wherever you want to take it. I'm happy to be here and
I
just
love
happy
it.
to add value.
Yeah. Well, you know what? I have so much that I want to address here, but you know what? When I wrote down, I'm very intuitively guided. I was born an intuitive. Some people like to call it a psychic or whatever, but
Wow.
and what I wrote down was, how can we surrender? I know your process is taking you to Bali and your retreats and the expansion. I want to know about the expansion, but I want to know, and I think that my audience would love to know, how can they surrender to this process? How can they surrender to what they need?
The big question.
Yeah, it is. I thought you
To
could
me,
answer
this
it
is
any way you want. Yeah.
the question of life. This is the question of everything, because I would say that surrender is the very process of life itself and the very purpose of life itself. The very purpose of our existence is surrender. And so with that said, on one level, it sometimes feels to us as though surrender is some difficult, challenging thing. Feels is the key word. Oh, it's so hard. It's so difficult. How do I do it? It's impossible. Oh my God. But the truth is, if we flip it and understand that maybe surrender is really our most natural state, it's the most natural state of our being. It's actually the easiest thing on the planet is to surrender. We've just been conditioned otherwise. We've been conditioned from childhood. If you look at how easy is it, Dana, to just breathe out? So you're asking us, how do I breathe out? It's just let go. It takes so much energy to hold on. It takes so much energy to fight. It takes so much energy to force. It takes so much energy to not surrender. And so when you talk about surrender, it's our natural state. We've just been conditioned otherwise. Like right now, for those that are listening on audio, I am making a fist and I'm holding a pen. And as I make this fist and I hold this pen, at first, it feels a bit unnatural to hold this pen. But when I, hold it long enough, then making this fist and contracting and holding this pen starts to feel normal. It starts to feel like the normal state of things. So when we say, well, let go of the pen, it kind of feels scary. It kind of feels different, but how easy is it to just let go? And so I just want to preface the conversation of surrender so that we can open up to a dimension of possibility that surrender is easy. It's our natural state. We came in surrendered. You look at a child, right? A child is naturally surrendered. They're just being. They're not thinking about, oh, what do I do? How do I look? What do I know? They're just laugh when they feel like laughing. They cry when they feel like crying. I have a 16-month-old and he cracks me up. He's just like jumps off the table. If he feels like it, I have to wash him all the time because he'll just flow with whatever's present. He cries when he feels like crying, and then he's done. You know, he'll laugh and giggle and he'll follow his intuition. He'll hug you. He just, there's no filter or there's no fear. So he's in a natural state of surrender. And so we just get conditioned out of it. And so we come in, I just want to preface by saying we come in as this free, surrendered beings. We're full of light, full of openness, full of love. We are all pure consciousness manifested in this physical human form, these souls in this physical human incarnation. But where we start losing touch with this expansiveness, with this flow, with being in touch with just the free flow of our intuition and our feelings, is we incarnate, we meet our parents, right? And our parents, God bless them, right? They're just doing the best that they know how to do based on their childhood and their conditioning and their grandparents and generational patterns and traumas. And much of them, they don't even know that there's pain and trauma. They're just living what they're living. And so we're born into a preset pattern of conditioning, right? Pain, trauma, dysfunction, hurt. Maybe dad is crazy. Maybe mom is an alcoholic. Maybe they were amazing people, but they just didn't know how to meet our emotional needs in some way. And so here we are, these free, expanded, surrendered beings, incarnated into this kind of contracted environment of pain, dysfunction, hurt, trauma. And we learn all sorts of strategies to, firstly, we start getting conditioned, and this is where we start sort of losing touch with our natural surrender state. We learn all sorts of strategies to shut down, disconnect, and not feel. And maybe it was painful not having those needs met. It was painful seeing mom and dad fight all the time, or dad abandoned us. And so we learned to shut down, disconnect, not feel. And we contracted our heart as a strategy of control because it was too painful to feel the instability. It was too painful to feel out of control. So if I can close my heart and not feel and shut down, I can not feel the pain and I can somehow manage and survive. And so unconsciously, we learn all sorts of, shall we say, survival strategies and mechanisms to just deal with our reality. And so now if I can close my heart and keep it closed and control what I'm feeling, I don't have to feel the pain. I don't have to feel the hurt. And before you know it, layers and layers and layers and layers and layers and layers of unfelt feeling, unfelt grief, pain, hurt, resentment, shame, guilt, sort of starts to cover up the full freedom of our expression, the full freedom of our light, of our natural free-flowing state of beingness, of being surrendered, right? And so that's one. And then it becomes a kind of strategy and defense mechanism that we use throughout our entire life. And so maybe what worked for us when we were 5 to avoid feeling pain and out of control, we continue doing till we're 15 and 25 and 35 and 45. And now it begins to limit us. And now we reach a certain point in our lives where what worked for us begins to limit us. Those strategies are now limitations. And so when you talk about let go and surrender, it's kind of terrifying when the entire way that I've learned to avoid pain, not get hurt, and not feel so out of control again, you mean you're asking me to let that go? It's scary. And so surrender kind of feels like a terrifying thing. It kind of feels like a death to the ego. The ego is the sense of self that we perceive the illusory sense of self, I should say, that we mistakenly perceive ourselves to be based on our childhood conditioning. And so we've learned to shut down, disconnect, not feel. But we've also learned all sorts of strategies to get love and validation and approval. So we learn to contort ourselves into a shape in order for mom and dad to love me. And so now this becomes another pattern or version of ourselves that we become in order to survive and function and be loved. And so the version of ourselves that we kind of end up becoming, which we think is who we are, is not who we really are. It's just a pattern of conditioning. But the degree to which we are identified with the version of self, the version of Kute, I'm just shy, I'm just kind, I'm just nice, I'm just independent. We say, this is just who I am. But the question is who I am who I really am, or is it just who I've been conditioned to be? And most of us, we don't realize that who we end up becoming is just a conditioned set of patterns in response to things that have happened. That sense of self that we've become and the degree to which we are identified with it is ego. And so ego is not a thing, it is a process of identification. And the degree to which we are identified with ego as this is who I am, me, the more difficult surrender can feel. So for the ego, surrender feels scary. And so we have to be willing, shall we say, to question ourselves. That is, you could say, a first step, the willingness to question, who am I? And what do I really believe? And what's real about me? And is this who I really am? And I think if we can start to question ourselves about who we are and what we believe and how we are reacting and responding, then we can start to loosen our identification with the sense of self that we've become, which feels terrifying because it feels like a death, because we're really believing in the sense of identity, right? And then we have to be willing to feel some of those feelings that the ego mechanism that we've become is protecting, because the job of the ego is to protect you from getting hurt, to make sure you don't get hurt again and feel that out of control again, to make sure you don't get hurt again and feel that unstable again, that afraid again, right? And so the ego is a creation to not feel that. And the job of the ego is to reinforce its existence. And so what we don't realize is that underneath our way of being and the persona that we've become often are a whole bunch of emotions and feelings that we have learned to not feel in order to survive. So part of surrender, we can say, just surrender, just surrender, just surrender. It sounds great, but the internal sort of survival mechanism kicks in and it's like, I'm not surrendering because we're holding on out of self-preservation. And so if we can then start questioning ourselves and begin to acknowledge some of those feelings that we have so skillfully suppressed and start to, in a healthy way, feel them, release them, let them go, right? Because all feelings remain present until fully felt. As we can release and let go of the pain, the fear, the hurt, the resentment, the anger, the shame, whatever it might be, then the mechanism itself, what we've learned to become, we no longer have to hold that together in order to suppress those feelings. And so as we can feel those feelings and release those feelings, there's more space, and there's less need for, you could say, the egoic strategies. And so surrender is a process of letting go. And the other thing I'll say, does that make sense?
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah.
I mean, you're speaking my language. My audience is going to love this. It just reinforces,
a bit of a breakdown in just kind of understanding. When you can understand that you are not the ego, you are not the ego, then you shift your relationship with the ego and you shift your relationship with surrender, because then you can also understand that in surrendering, what is dying, because surrender is a death, what is dying is not you, not the real you. What you're letting go of and what is dying is the false version of yourself that you've created yourself to be in order to function and survive, but it's not the real essence of what you really are. That then also frees you up to be willing to surrender and let go and release the false layers, so to speak. And so I think in our culture, we have this I guess, misperception. I think that surrender is weak, that surrender is bad, that surrender is negative, that surrender is passive, that surrender is giving up, that surrender is waving the white flag, that if you surrender, you will not manifest your goals, your dreams, desires. If you surrender, you'll be a doormat, and you're going to get less in life. Who the hell would want to surrender? And so for me, I'm saying, look, if you really understand the true essence of real surrender, what if you didn't get less, but you got more than you, maybe not what you expected, maybe a different path, but what if it was beyond what you could imagine? What if it was better? What if it was different than anything you could imagine, with the limitation of your conscious human ego's awareness? And I think this is the power and the magic of true surrender. And this is why I believe that surrender is the most powerful thing that you can do. Surrender is the real secret and the real key to true manifestation, beyond limitations. Surrender is the real password to freedom. And when I really studied and look at the great ones, people that I respected, a Jesus, a Buddha, a Gandhi, a Mandela, a Mother Teresa, a Martin Luther King, when I look at some of these amazing folks, I mean, an Oprah, and Elon Musk in his own way, I mean, they all in some way, shape or form had to surrender, in that they had to go beyond their limited idea of what they thought their life should look like. And I think when they truly surrendered, they tapped into another dimension of life. And as a result, that's when they transcended their human limitations, and life was able to use them and move through them and express through them in ways that they could not have even imagined. You look at a Mandela. Yeah, I mean, that's not a life you can plan. I'm going to spend 27 years in prison. And then that's not a business strategy. That's not can't go to a mastermind and say, yeah, I'll spend 27 years in prison, then I'll come out and then I'll be president. That's beyond the mind, right? And so in the true surrender to his path, life revealed itself. And so surrender is a letting go of control. Surrender is a letting go of the illusion that we are in control in the first place. Surrender is a letting go of the life you think you should be living, who you think you should be. And it's a willingness to be open to life. It's a willingness to allow life to lead you, allow life to show you, allow life in its innate intelligence to reveal itself to you. And I think that's when the real magic happens. The old paradigm is really about asking the question, what do I want? I, as a limited sense of ego self, what do I want? You can manifest using the ego, and you can probably create a good life. But what I have found is it will not be a great life. It will not be a God life, a truly, amazing life. If we look at, and maybe everyone can do this exercise for a second, if you look at the most life-altering, amazing things that have happened in your life, if we just scan back, did you plan it? Most of it, you didn't plan. I think of meeting my wife. I think of having my child. I think of coming to America. I think of all of these wow things that happened. I didn't plan it. They just kind of happened in the process of following my soul, in the process of following the pure nudging of my being, and following that, and then boom, something happened that I couldn't have figured out, right? And sometimes it emerged after everything seemed to fall apart. And so the old paradigm is using your ego to say, well, what do I want? And you might get everything you thought you wanted, only to realize that what you thought you wanted is not what you really wanted. It's just what you thought you wanted based on who you thought you were. But for me, the real question is a different question. If we can start asking the question, what is it that life wants to express through me? What is it that life wants to manifest through me? What is it that life wants to podcast through me, write through me, create through me, business through me? And I think when we can expand ourselves to the receptivity of the infinite, the receptivity of the universe, the full, open, unlimited receptivity of the divine, then we become truly available to the deepest impulse of life expressing through us, to the highest potentiality of life. And that's when the magic happens. Then you can align your personality and your ego and your strategy in alignment with the deep impulse of your soul. And that's, I think, when we experience magic. And so I think how we surrender is a natural process of living life itself. And how we surrender is based on some of the things I've shared. But it is a process.
Oh, yeah. I say trust the process behind me, but it is a process. And again, everything you said resonates so deeply in my soul. And, you know, when I think about this and I think about my audience and they're going through, okay, now I surrender, and perhaps they're evolved enough to know that, you know, the ego and the soul self, and they can identify, and they're willing to give it all up. What would be their next process that they would step into and ask of, I say, divine God, creation? You know, they're willing to surrender. What
Because
would
you're
be their
willing.
next guided step that they could say, this is what I need now? Because a lot of times they're lost after that. I'm surrendering. Now what?
Okay. Well,
So
let
what's
me break
next?
down. Typically, what happens is typically the process and the evolutionary phases into surrender, so people can just track it, right? And then what to do. Usually, where we end up starting is we are unconscious. We just live our life doing what we're doing, you know, creating, living, working, trying to make things happen, right? And we're not really conscious. We just think this is the way things are, and we've been programmed and conditioned from childhood, and we're just doing life in the matrix, so to speak, right?
Yeah.
And believing our own mind and ego selves. Then typically what starts happening is we start feeling the limitation of who we are. Things that used to work no longer worked. Old ways of being that we learn to function and survive and even become successful now start limiting the next level of our expression. We start realizing certain ways of being are now kind of limiting our fulfillment to create and enjoy love, intimacy, connection, relationship. And so we start feeling the limitations of our strategies and our ego's capacity to make things happen. So that pressure starts happening. It's like, things are not quite working anymore. We begin to outgrow a certain way of being, which forces us into a next phase of questioning. What's going on? Is who I am who I really am? Is this what I really want to live? I'm feeling kind of dissatisfied. So the questioning starts happening. Now, this is scary to the ego. So what we take, because questioning myself and what I believe, who am I going to be if I let this go? And so what starts happening next is we begin to negotiate. And this is where a lot of people end up in negotiation hell for the rest of their lives. We start negotiating with our purpose. Well, maybe I don't have to let my job go. I can just keep doing this thing I hate until I'm
I
retired.
love that. We're gonna
right?
recap that. Negotiation hell. That was brilliant. I always look for little gems because you are right. You know, I work with a lot of people and they are in negotiation hell for the rest
Forever.
of their lives
For
because
the rest of their lives.
they're
Maybe I don't.
compromising, and
We're
love it.
compromised.
Love that.
Maybe I don't have, I know this relationship isn't right for me. So maybe if I change, then he'll change. And it's never going to work, but we just kind of keep negotiating with life, right? I know I kind of have this little bit of a addiction with alcohol, but I'm not really addicted, even though I'm drinking every single day. But I could give up anytime I want, at my alcohol thing. And so we just keep negotiating, knowing that there are mental, emotional, spiritual, psychic, energetic consequences to certain ways of being and things we're doing. The next level of your life will require the next level of you. And the next level of you will require that you let go and release everything that is no longer aligned with who you are today. But most of us, we hold on to old ways of being out of fear, out of self-preservation, out of comfort. And we're not realizing that this is what's keeping us stuck, blocking our blessings and stopping us from going to that next level. And
What do
so
what do you think stops people from going to that next level?
The fear of success, the fear of responsibility, the fear, sometimes it's the fear of, wow, if I really succeed, I'll no longer have control. So ultimately, you understand, if I really build a big company, then I'm not going to be in control anymore. Control as in, I'm going to have to hire more people. Control as in, if I stay small, I can manage how people perceive me. But if I'm big and I explode and people know me, then my reputation will be out of my control. And so often unconsciously, one of the positive intentions of not going to that next level is a effort to control and keep us safe. That is this sort of unconscious payoff, right? And so if I don't really go for it, then I can't be disappointed if it doesn't work and manifest, right? If I don't really go for it, I can and go to that next level, I can always have the possible future fantasy of it happening, the hope of it happening. And so there's all sorts of, I think it's different for every person, but there's all sorts of payoffs that we have for not truly going to that next level. Sometimes it's the fear and the familiarity of what we have. It's the comfort zone of who we've been. Because going to the next level requires that you let go. Requiring that you let go of things that are not aligned requires that you die to the old identity. You cannot manifest the new, the next level, being the old version of yourself. So the next level requires that you release the old version of yourself that often you've become comfortable with. And so this is what can be scary. So, who does the next level require me to be? And that can be a bit scary. That can feel a bit unknown. Sometimes we don't go to the next level because we get a bit comfortable. Sometimes we get comfortable, Dana, we get caught in a trap of success. This is what's scary. We do something, it works, it's working. I mean, we're succeeding. We get reinforced. We're making money. We're just cranking. It's going. It's working, but we're not evolving anymore. But we're no longer growing anymore. But we're no longer expanding anymore, right? We're no longer developing as a soul, right? And as a result, we're keeping ourselves stagnant. We're keeping ourselves stuck. And so I would invite everyone to sit with at this stage of when you're in that mode of negotiation, what am I doing that is currently working? It's working, but I no longer feel alive. It's working, but I am no longer feeling in alignment with my highest purpose. I could keep doing this for the rest of my life and phoning it in and making money, but I'm no longer growing as a soul. And I think if we're willing to be honest with ourselves, this is the key. Otherwise, we just get caught in this trap of success, doing more of what we're doing and we're no longer growing. So what is it that I'm currently doing that's working? But doing more of it is actually inhibiting the next level of my growth and evolution. What this stage of negotiation requires is the willingness. Like if you really want to break through and surrender, you have to have the willingness to tell yourself the truth. You have to have the willingness to no longer bullshit yourself and say, I'm unhappy. I'm dissatisfied. I'm not in love anymore, right? I am playing small. You know what? I have a weed or alcohol problem. It is a problem. I am addicted to alcohol or whatever it is. And just without judgment, own the fact and the truth, because it's really the truth that will set us free. There is no true surrender. You can't move into real surrender without truth. You have to be willing to tell the truth. So what happens is we end up coming to a point where we realize, if we're honest, no amount of negotiation is going to set me free. I have to accept what is. So then we start moving into, like, I can keep negotiating, but I have to acknowledge I got a problem with weed. I got a problem with alcohol. I can bullshit myself and say, well, I can manage it and I'm not an alcoholic and other, but yeah, I have an issue. No judgment. You have to start with the ruthless, sincere truth of where you are at. You can't change reality if you can't acknowledge the reality. And so then you move into a point of acceptance. This is where I'm at. This is where my business is. This is who my husband is. Can I deal with that? But I don't like who they are. But this is what they are. Well, maybe if I change myself, maybe if I do some ayahuasca, maybe if I meditate, maybe if I pray, maybe if I lose weight. This is what they are. If you cannot accept what is, you will create more suffering for your life and you'll be in resistance. And it's resisting reality that creates suffering. When we are busy resisting reality, we create suffering for ourselves, not the experience itself. And whenever you suffer, there is the thought form, Dana, that goes something like, the experience that I'm having is not the experience that I should be having. I should be having some other experience than the experience I'm having right now. This is the opposite of surrender, versus the experience I'm having is exactly what is happening. Whether I like it or not, this is what is happening. Acceptance is a key in that evolution to surrender. Now, between acceptance and surrender, there is a phase that is often missed. And this is why people often don't step into the full expansiveness of true surrender, because they miss the phase in the middle. It's the bridge. The phase in the middle is grieving. Most people do not allow the grieving. So you were saying, well, what do people do when they get to the, when you get to the point of accepting, okay, this is what it is. Okay, I'm 65 and I'm not going to win an Oscar and be Tom Cruise. I'm not going to play in the NBA anymore. Or you know, my relationship is over. The truth is I've not been in love and it hurts, but I'm not going to BS myself anymore.
Right.
It's not working anymore. This is a profound moment of acceptance. What you do in that moment is you allow yourself to move into the grieving phase. There is no real, authentic surrender without grieving. And so if you allow yourself to move into true, authentic grieving, this is the portal and the bridge to true surrender. Surrender is the open-hearted participation with the process of life that is happening, where you are willing to use whatever is happening for your highest good. Okay, this is falling apart. Okay, how is this working for my highest good? How can I participate with what is happening for my highest good? How can it's raining outside, but I wanted to go in my bikini and my swim trunks to the beach, but it's raining outside. We can you know, moan and groan about it, or we can say, well, how do I use this? Maybe we invite our friends over and we have build a beautiful fireplace inside and play games and connect with the family. And surrender is the willingness to embrace whatever experience is happening, trusting that every experience is happening for your highest growth and evolution, even if you can't see it right now, and the willingness to learn the lesson, extract the lesson from the experience so that you can use it to grow and evolve. To me, this is true surrender. It's saying, I'm going to make the best of this situation, even though I don't understand the situation. I'm going to embrace it. I'm going to surrender to it, right? And so grieving is the key. Grieving is when you allow yourself to acknowledge what is, to truly honor your feelings, and to truly let things go, to feel the pain, to feel the grief so that you can release it. When we don't allow ourselves to grieve, a part of our heart stays blocked. And then we carry that blockage into the next situation, into the next relationship. And a part of ourselves is not truly open to what's next because we haven't let go of what was. If anyone here, you think about a relationship that ended, I think we've all had one of these. You think about a relationship that ended, it was tremendously hurtful. You didn't allow yourself to grieve, and maybe you just jumped into a new relationship. It may be amazing, but if 50% of your heart is still stuck in that old relationship and you have not allowed yourself to process it and grieve it, it's hard to truly open to the new relationship. And so grieving is the portal to true surrender. I think we don't allow ourselves to grieve fully because we're afraid it will last forever. We don't allow ourselves to grieve fully because we're afraid we won't be able to handle the grief. It's going to break us. Sometimes the ego doesn't allow ourselves to grieve fully because it's the ego's sneaky strategy to hold on. Like, if I don't allow myself to grieve the end of a relationship, the death of a loved one, then maybe I don't have to really admit that it's happened, and I can still stay connected to them, right? And so this is a pattern of denial that keeps us stuck. So grieving frees us. Grieve, you know, you're truly in the process of surrendering when you allow yourself to grieve. But grieving is not wallowing. Grieving is the willingness to feel and experience the sensations. See, many times people think that they are grieving. Kute, I'm grieving, but I still feel it. Many times we think we're grieving, but we're thinking about the grief. We're analyzing the grief. We're trying to get rid of the grief. What I tell people is take the label off of the feeling. Don't even call it grief, and just experience the grief as a sensation in your body. And when you can notice the grief as a sensation in your body and just feel it without trying to get rid of it, without any resistance, you will often find that all feelings remain present until fully felt. And all feelings have a natural cycle, that if you can feel the grief as the sensation in your body fully without resistance, a layer will dissolve, and grief can dissolve in layers that allow you to let the past go so you can open to the new. And so as you allow yourself to grief, then you'll get lighter, your vibration will shift, then there's an opening. So what to do now? What to do now? Now I've grieved, what to do now? You don't have to know. Here's the myth, that you have to know where you're going. You got to have a plan. It's okay to have a plan. Just don't get attached to your plan. It's okay to have a goal. Just don't get attached to how you think the goal is going to happen, and don't get attached to the specific outcome. Right. Get clear on the goal, as clear as you can, align with it, and go 100%, but don't be attached to the outcome. Because if you're attached to the outcome, then you're not really open to life unfolding and revealing itself. So what to do? You get clear, you commit fully, 100%, you give everything you can, you go for it, and you then then you pay attention, you become attuned, and you allow life to show you. Because if you're paying attention to life, life will give you clues. And sometimes we're so busy trying to get somewhere that we miss the clues, or sometimes we're so attached to how we think it's going to happen that sometimes how life guides us and leads us doesn't fit into the limitation of how we think it's going to happen. So we're not seeing the clues because we think they should come a different way. And so if we're willing to then allow life to show you, so you just take a step. Take a step. I don't know where this is going. Let me take a step. You lean in. You take a step. What you will often find is life reveals itself to you in the process of living. And then you take another step, and life reveals itself to you. Dana showed up. Okay, you have the conversation with Dana. Oh, okay, then she refers you to Kute. Okay, now you have the conversation, and then next thing you know, boom, right? And so I think if you can lean in, take the step, lean in, take the step, life unfolds and reveals to you what you need in the process of living life itself. Right. The thing is this, every goal and vision is evolutionary. And sometimes when we get so attached to the outcome, we either don't take the step because we're not sure how we're going to manifest it, or we judge ourselves as failures or successes based on whether we achieve the outcome or not. Mm-hmm. So what do? We take the step. You take the step. And the key is, the real success is not in this simply the attainment of the outcome. The real success is the degree to which you learned the lesson and you went on the journey so that you learned the lesson that your soul needed to learn in order to become the person that you needed to become in the process of the pursuit of that goal, of that desire, of that vision. Because the lessons that you learn prepare you so that you can become the person, develop the mental and emotional, shall we say, muscle, soul force, so that you're actually ready. And so sometimes the goal that you're pursuing is not even the goal. It's just the evolutionary carrot that took you on the journey so that you could learn the lessons to become the person, to be ready for the real vision over here.
Wow. You just answered like 19 of my questions. I mean, it just evolved and flowed so beautifully. I mean, I didn't have to ask anything. With the exception, I know people work with you in Bali and and India, and tell me about being drawn to that and hosting retreats there, and how can people sign up for this? Because I feel very
I don't
well.
do the India journeys anymore, but I do my events in Bali for the last 13 to 14 years. Okay. It's called Boundless Bliss, the Bali Breakthrough Experience.
Boundless Bliss.
12 days, an experiential seminar training without walls, where I use Bali as the backdrop. And these journeys are a profound process that is designed. I only take 18 people maximum on these journeys. I've done them twice a year. By the way, this December the 5th through the 16th is the final Bali event that I'm ever going to do.
Oh, no kidding. So it's this December.
This December is the final one. This will be number 24. So I've done quite a few of them.
Do you have spots still available?
We have a handful of spots still available.
Okay.
There is an interview process.
First.
Yes, there's an interview process. We screen people because we really want people that are profoundly committed, because I take you on a journey, honestly, unlike anything on the planet. And they're such unique, profound, transformational, soul purifying journeys where I create a process that is designed to help you become conscious and aware of the patterns of your conditioning that limit the fullest expression of your being, much of which is subconscious and much of which we're not even aware of. Then I design a specific structured step-by-step process that is intended to help you free yourself experientially of your conditioning so that you can connect to your power, to your truth, to your essence. And then I design a process inside of this that is meant to help catapult you forward into living your destiny. And so it's such a unique process. You know,
I'm thinking,
we think
that was expansive. That was
often we think that we're free.
Yeah.
But for many of us, so much of our freedom is conditional.
Right.
It's based on, well, I'm free if I achieve this goal. I feel happy and free if so-and-so loves me a certain way. I feel happy and free when I have a certain of money in my bank account. I feel happy and free if people treat me a certain way. So we don't realize that so much of our sense of freedom is based on externalities and external factors, and the need to have all these things line up a certain way in order to feel happy and free. But we don't realize that we are slaves. Most of us are slaves and prisoners to circumstances, situations, and things. Who's the president? Who's in government? The state of the economy, right? Whether you like my posts or not. I mean, just fill in the blank.
Yeah.
And the moment that the stock market changes, or someone doesn't call you back, or someone doesn't give you that, then your state of being, your state of value, self-worth goes up and down with all these things. So this is a very conditional relationship with life. To me, true freedom is an inner state of being. An inner state of being. And when you access the real freedom of your being, the real freedom of who you are, and knowing who you are beyond the limited ego identity. You see, I don't want to get too extreme, but there is...
Oh, no, get extreme.
An agenda. There is an agenda.
Yeah.
To keep you small.
Oh, absolutely.
There is an agenda. Religions, advertisers, governments, retailers, an investment in you and I not knowing who we really are. We are programmed from the moment that we're born to believe that we are just these little human beings, this three-dimensional mind-body mechanism, that you're born and then you die and you get wrinkles and you become unlovable. But if you just, get this lotion and potion and cream for $99, then you're going to be lovable. And so we're brainwashed and conditioned, and our attention is hijacked, and we get hypnotized and seduced to believe that we are really not powerful. Because, and there's so much distraction from media and the circus of television and news and entertainment and Monday Night Football and UFC and boxing and soccer and hockey. As just we get so distracted out here that we don't have time to go in here. And by the way, there's a recession. And by the way, there's another, pandemic. And by the way, there's elections. And by the way, Trump, Biden, this, that. And so before you know it, we get disconnected and distracted from who we really, really, really are.
So, Kute, how do you...
And we forget.
Yeah,
we forget. The secret that they don't want you to know is how powerful you really are.
There it is.
So as a creator.
How you feed that? How does Kute Blackson, how do you feed this every day and keep this power, an
Yes.
enormous
Yes. You
centeredness.
have to unplug. You have to
Okay.
realize that you are in a matrix that doesn't have an investment in you being free. Because if you're
Mm,
not free and you don't know who you are, you can be sold. You can be sold goods and products that carry a promise of, if you buy this and do this and wear this and act this way and believe this thing, then you're going to be enough. And the
yeah.
truth is, you are already enough because you are a incarnated manifestation of the
Right.
divine consciousness itself. So we have to understand the matrix for what it is. We live in a
Right.
three-dimensional realm of duality, up, down, plus, minus, yin and yang. This realm is the interdependent polaric opposites that is life. It contains all of it. And unless we unplug ourselves from the matrix and go inside, to listen inside, to connect inside, to hear our truth, to hear our soul, to hear the divine intuition, to hear what is really pulsing through us, we will be run by the hypnosis of the world and media and Fox News and CNN and social media, and we will just be puppets. And here's the thing. We are infinite beings, but we incarnate into this human experience, this realm of limitation. This is a realm of limitation here, right? But we incarnate not to be limited. We incarnate to awaken and realize through the limitation our true unlimited nature, and to be free in the matrix, to be free in the world but not of the world, is when you realize, oh, freedom doesn't exist out here. Real freedom is an inner state of being. And when I connect with the dimension of myself that is free, my true essence that is beyond birth and beyond death, I'm powerful. Whoa, I am one, I am life, I am source energy itself. Then you become unstoppable. Then you become fearless. Then you become bold in sharing your gifts with the world because you know who and what you really are. To me, this is powerful. So we incarnate not to be limited. We incarnate to become masters in limitation in this game, this
Sounds like
cosmic
the
game of
highest
life.
form of utilizing the law of attraction or any
The
universal
highest, the
laws.
highest
The
level.
highest
Yes.
level
Yes.
of gathering, and with no limitations, no filters. You are on the playing field.
This is a game.
Yeah.
Yes,
Yeah,
that's the
it's
game.
beautiful.
So
Oh,
unplug, create daily
unplug.
time in stillness. In that stillness, acknowledge the truth. What is the truth? What lies have I been telling myself? What is the truth of what I feel? What is the truth of what is
Right.
inside of me, right? Take time to connect and go beyond the mind so that you can connect to your soul in your daily practice and your daily meditation. Take time to be in nature where there is less static and you can listen to the intelligence of nature itself. So that can help you connect with your own nature. Take time every day. Like, I don't have a television. I barely watch TV, right? Take time every day to just throw out your television, and connect back into yourself. Because, there's that age-old quote. I think it was Jesus or somewhere in the Bible somewhere. The kingdom of heaven is within you. The kingdom of heaven is within you. It doesn't say the kingdom of heaven is in a Lamborghini. The kingdom of heaven is in the stock market. Nothing wrong with a Lamborghini. It's a beautiful car, by the way. But the kingdom of heaven, the true dimension of freedom is not out here. It's in the depth of your being. It's within you. But most of us, we are looking in the wrong place. We're not looking inside. We're looking out here in the world. Is a constant, non-stop sea of change and transitory impermanence.
But when you say, Kute, that in this process of living in here, that we become mega attractors for everything, abundance. I think money follow, everything follow, the Lamborghini, all of that.
It comes to you if you want it.
Yeah. Yeah. We don't seek it. Who did Remini say? What we're seeking is seeking us. It's, it's that law of attraction that it shows up, even though
Yes.
we're not seeking it, because we've opened up this playing field, this space of expansion where our soul is so connected to this high vibrational, um, what you've just discussed is so high vibrational
Yeah.
versus the lower vibration energy of limitations.
Yes.
The expansion is limitless,
Yeah.
unstoppable. Everything you've said, so true. I always end with this question. I could talk. I could talk to you all day. I could listen to you all day. It's like I just want to hit record and do an audiobook, and because I'm almost listening to your book as well, and it's so comforting to have this reaffirm. My soul feels expansive. I feel like that movie, was it where he says, my heart's expanding. My heart's expanding. I don't think it was Dr. Seuss, but it was, but anyway, it feels like that. It feels like everything is moving. I can physically feel it. And I love that. And I always end with this question, and it is, what in your life feels like love?
What in my life feels
Feels like
like love?
love. Yeah.
I mean, the first thing that just naturally comes is, two things really. Um, the connection with my wife,
Mm.
you know, feels like love in the purest sense. And it's such a beautiful gift from God in my life. The purity with which she loves me. And
Right.
it's not just in the wow, fireworks, explosions, love. But I think the reason I say it feels like love is because when I experience the way she loves me in just the simple, everyday, ordinary moments of life,
Right.
I'm reminded of grace in the ordinary.
Mm.
Not just like, here's some roses and here's this. And on a
Yeah.
vacation, it's just in the everyday shit and mundane of just
Yeah.
boringness of everything. The ways
Connection.
that she,
Yeah.
the
Deep.
ways that she loves me in the everyday, just and the everyday is 90% of our lives, and
Yeah.
so that really feels like love, in the moments where we disagree and we argue, or we just have, moments of disagreements, and
Mhm.
she still shows up for me and is there even in those moments. It's like, wow, this is love,
I
you
love the
know.
fact you said 90% of those moments are our everyday life. So if we don't ask ourselves what feels like love and
Every
we
day.
incorporate
Yeah.
in this expansion, we're
Yeah.
missing so much.
It's not just on the mountaintop or the yoga
No.
studio and some plant medicine ceremony or in Peru and Machu Picchu and Egypt. That's
Yeah.
not it. It's in the everyday. And so I'm blessed, really blessed to have that. And, my son is 15 months old, and
Yeah.
every second with him, it feels like love, because when I just pick him up and look at him, it's just everything else melts away. All the
Yeah.
other bullshit melts away, you know.
God. And I love the fact you have no TV. It's just all that presence, all that messiness. I can feel it. And again, I feel that expansion. And how can people find you right now? I know you've got your books out. You're ending your last retreat in Bali in December. How can
Yeah,
people find you? How can they connect? What do you
sure.
what do you have going next? Is there a
Well,
new book?
yes,
Tell us about what you're doing.
I would say get the book, The Magic of Surrender. Go to Amazon, check it out.
The
I would
that
say
book. I'm
if
going to put the link. I'm going to put the link out.
beautiful,
I know that I actually recommend that book to my clients. I love that book.
amazing.
It
Yeah,
just reinforces everything I teach. It's
yeah.
on point.
I would say if you're really, really ready to catapult to that next level of your life and manifestation and abundance and dreams, the most powerful thing I've done the last years is this event to Bali, Boundless Bliss, the Bali Breakthrough Experience. 12 days with me in Bali. It will change your life. And this is a promise.
And this is men
And
and women, not just men.
men,
It's
yeah, men and women,
yeah.
you name it. If you feel a calling, go to
It's all game. We're all in.
www.boundlessblissbali.com. That's boundlessblissbali.com. Go to the website. You can read about it, find out more information there, and apply. We have a a few spots remaining for December the 5th through the 16th. My Instagram, Kute Blackson, my name, website, kuteblackson.com. You can find out more about the events and the upcoming things next year. There's many beautiful things I'm working on, including a new book, which I've not announced yet. And yeah, podcast, Soul
I knew there was
Talk.
a new book.
And so just say hi, connect anytime.
Yeah, and you are always putting valuable information. You really give a lot out there every day. And I was drawn to that you give more than you need to every day out there. And it's once again, you just walk the walk, and I'm so grateful. I'm so grateful you're here. It's so nice to meet you. Perfect. I'm absolutely drawn to December. I'm thinking maybe there's a spot for me there.
If you feel it, if you feel it.
Yeah, I'm feeling it. I'm feeling it. And it's all guided. Like you said, it's all guided, and I'm listening. So thank you for being here,
Thank you
Kute.
so much for
And
having me.
it's just been such a privilege to spend time with you. And, we hope to have you. We'd love to have you back, because I think this was just a tip of what is possible and where people can go. And I know I'm going to get an enormous amount of questions and response, and I can't wait to invite you back. So thank you. Be well.